Hi, I'm Eric. I film on my phone and welcome to another video. As I've gotten settled into Deutschland, or to Germany, I feel finally ready and a little more calm in a way that I can talk about what I brought to this country in just 3 bags. That's right, all I had was a suitcase, a carry-on, and a personal item. Now that personal item did end up being a backpack that basically was the size of a carry-on, and they also had me check my carry-on as a second check bag for free, so I took it. But definitely I was very full on the way here. But to be fair, I was planning to live here for 11 months, and I am still planning on doing that. So it really begs the question, what all do you actually need to bring from home for those 11 months versus what do you not need to bring home? And it's going to be different for everyone, but I figured I'd share 10 of my things that I specifically wanted to bring here and thought were good ideas. And I will say that there are some things that I brought that might not have been the best idea, but we're not going to focus on those too much. We can talk about those more after some time when I can really assess what I actually needed to bring. So I know for the future, or you know for the future, what you should and shouldn't bring. But these have all been super helpful so far, and so I doubt that they're going to change at this point. So anyway, let's get into it. So first things first, I wanted to get the most boring one out of the way and also the most no-brainer one out of the way. But if you're trying to use this as a packing list, it's important. And those are what I would like to call the essentials. And I trademarked it. Not really, but I trademarked it for this video. And that includes your phone charger, your wallet. You don't really need US dollars in it or whatever money it is, unless it's euros, and then obviously you can take some euros. Don't transfer money into euros automatically. Just bring a debit card, withdraw it from an ATM, and you're gonna be set. Also in this, bring your passport, bring any other ID that you may need. It's also nice to have a driver's license or some other form of ID in case you do lose your passport and you need to figure out something else. I wouldn't bring something big like your birth certificate or anything like that. There's really no reason for that, to my knowledge. In this essentials category, I'd also bring, mainly as a Gen Zer, any other electronics you need, like headphones, your laptop, or whatever you need. Second is clothes. Now, I wanted to talk about clothes in a more nuanced way than just like, oh, you should pack clothes, because yeah, maybe you should. Because the thing is that clothes take up a lot of space, and it's important to plan for a whole year, in my case at least. If you're traveling for a week or so, there's really no need to utilize this video in a very effective way, but if you're planning to do a study abroad or exchange program, this video probably is helpful. I pretty much packed like I would be wearing all my clothes within 2 weeks, and that's really helpful. You shouldn't have more clothes than waiting 3 weeks to do laundry. I have it set to 2 in terms of underwear and socks, those essentials, but in terms of shirts and shorts and pants, I have a little bit of more fluidity in that, and that's because I'm going to be in a variety of seasons this year. And so I had pants, I have shorts, and I have reasons for using those in different occasions. Business casual needs for my government-funded program versus the casual everyday. So you have to be a little bit flexible, otherwise you're gonna have to buy stuff here, which is fine, but it also feels a little economically disadvantageous to do so for me. The only thing in this category that I think I really forgot was getting a nice belt. I already had nice belts at home, I just didn't bring them. I brought other belts that were for holding the shorts or the pants up, but not necessarily for a formal setting to accent your nice clothes. Make sure you have pajamas, make sure you have sweaters, make sure you have jackets. Layering is very important here in Germany. I'm sure it's important in other places as well, but yeah, layer is really important because the weather does change every day, it changes every hour. You might want to take that jacket off, put a jacket on, do what you can with the elements you're given. I also use space bags, and I don't know if they're official space bags, but I used those vacuum bags where you can roll them up. You don't want to do any of the bigger ones because you probably won't have the vacuum readily available to tuck them back in later. But the ones that roll did help me fit more, it does make your bag denser, and so it's easier to hit that 50-pound limit or any other pound limit. So just be cautious of that if you are utilizing those. And I'd also emphasize not bringing anything that's super bulky. For example, I had a couple jackets that I really love and I would love to have brought here. But obviously I boarded this plane in July and it was hot and I wasn't gonna wear it on the plane. And these things just would never fit in the storage bags. They were giant, they're fluffy, and so they're very comfortable, but they were not conducive to fitting everything together. So if you do have the opportunity to bring your favorite jacket, I highly recommend you do so. But do remember that things do take up space and some things are not created equal in that front. Also make sure your clothes can go together so you don't have to wear this jacket only on this one occasion. That's not really that practical if you're going to be here for a year. It's just not. So definitely I recommend using more neutral type clothing so that your stuff can go together. Or if you do everything in pastels, you can do that too. But I highly recommend having things that can be worn several times because that's what you're gonna do. Next things next is toiletries. Now I specifically mean toiletries that are either expensive as heck or that you specifically need. I'm talking medications, any medication, anything that needs a prescription. It's just simply easier to bring it with you, to just order an advanced dosage and make it work. Now, I can't speak for any controlled substances when it comes to like antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications or those type of things that are a little more controlled. I can't speak to how hard that is. I believe it is hard, but I have some dermatology issues. And so I packed a lot of skincare type stuff that was prescribed to me. And so I now have that and I don't have to worry about going to a doctor and getting more of it or having them ship it to me all the way in another country. I don't have to worry about that, which is very, very nice. Also within this section, I'd like to recommend if you're going to Germany in particular, make sure to bring melatonin and ibuprofen if you use either of them. Ibuprofen's Advil, same difference. Bring both if you use both, or bring one or the other if you use either, because both of those require prescription, I'm pretty sure. So they don't take it from you at the airport if you have it with you, because it's not illegal to possess it, but it is not possible to buy it easily. The next thing I like to recommend to anyone who's coming from the United States in particular, but it can be from anywhere, and that is American spices or snacks. So spices, I brought no salt Cajun seasoning, as well as chili seasoning packets, as well as taco seasoning, because I know that they can't do that stuff here. They just don't sell that. They don't make that good of food in those departments, and that's okay. They have a lot of other food that's good. I know Germans aren't necessarily the most well known for their cuisine as opposed to maybe French or Italy or Spain or Britain or most of Europe that have distinct populations abroad in the United States. But they do have good food, I promise. I've enjoyed plenty of it while I'm here. But if I'm trying to cook for myself, I do want a taste of home a bit. And so I highly recommend bringing those spices along with you. It'll help you a lot. And also, if you cook for some local people, they'll be so surprised because they've never had that flavor in their life. Same thing goes for snacks. Some items that don't really exist here are goldfish, Cheez-Its, a lot of artificial cheese snacks, or even real cheese snacks. They just eat a lot of cheese regularly, so they don't hear it in cheese cracker form. That's just not really a thing. I also brought stuff like graham crackers, marshmallows, maple syrup. I brought Girl Scout cookies that I didn't eat, and they were the s'mores flavors, so a double whammy, because they don't really do s'mores and they don't really do Girl Scout cookies. So it was great to bring. I recommend bringing some for you to consume, but I also recommend if you are going to live with a host family or going to live with people from another country. I have both. I live with a host family, but we also have several people from other countries just living here. So it's an experience for everyone. And I highly recommend that you share, give gifts to your host family. It's very kind that they're letting you stay there if that is your situation. It is my situation, but I'm sure it's not everyone who's watching this video's situation. But yeah, I actually ended up packing a lot of snacks, and I think that's one of the reasons why my bag was a little overweight, and we solved the problem. We found someone whose bag was 20 pounds underweight somehow, which is ridiculous, but good for you that you were able to. If you are watching this, which I'll send it to you. But that was smart for me because I knew I would be picking up souvenirs or just things that I've collected across my year. And so that gives me a built-in section of my bag that is going to be empty because there's no reason to bring those snacks back to America. Another thing related to food, our fifth thing to discuss, is bring measuring cups because Europe uses weight measuring system and my kitchen doesn't even have a food scale. So what am I supposed to do with that? Just use your American recipes or alter them a bit to suit what you can get at the grocery store, but get those measuring cups. Yes, please. Tablespoons, teaspoons, all that good stuff. Cups, etc. Yeah, those are all really helpful for me. They don't take up much space in your bag, and they're going to make a load of difference, and you will not find them here. It's interesting because I was talking to a local German. Apparently, they do tablespoons and teaspoons. They just don't do the cups, and I'm like, why would you do one set and not the other? Those are from the same system. I don't understand. I mean, I do understand why they use the tablespoon and teaspoons because things that are that small can't really get picked up by a food scale properly. But why not just have your cups out and do all of that at once? The next thing I'd recommend is a little more up to you, and that's things related to your hobbies. Keep in mind that if you're studying abroad or going to be living in another country for a year, that is still your life. It's not just a vacation for the whole time. And yes, there'll be elements of it that feel like a vacation or a field trip or some life experience, but it is your life after all. And so don't say, oh, I'm going to drop this hobby unless you just don't want to do the hobby. That's fine. But for example, one thing I really like doing is I like playing games on my Switch. So I brought my Switch. I knew that would get a lot of use. I brought my deck of tarot cards. I really like doing tarot readings for me. It calms me down. It makes me feel relaxed. I like to journal, so I brought my journal. Things like that will make your experience a little more tethered and a little more grounded than you might otherwise feel. If you get rid of every part of what you enjoyed back home as you go into a new country, especially one where you might not know the language or really know what's going on, or not have many people around you that you already know and are friends with or get really along with. Yeah, there's activities that can be very beneficial. And so I knew I wanted to keep making videos while I was here. I knew I wanted to continue doing tarot readings, continue journaling, doing a lot of things like that. And so I brought those things and made sure I was prioritizing bringing things that would be helpful. Now that said, if you're a knitter, you don't need to bring yards and yards and yards of yarn. You can just buy some at the store. They do have craft stores here. And if you are partaking in a hobby, you don't have to have everything for that hobby immediately, but have the basics. Have something to get back to just ground you for a half hour, an hour, if that's the type of hobby that you're in. But think about what things you can do in a basic sense and what things will benefit you further. Again, if you really like cooking and you know you want to use a bunch of your recipes from the United States, bring those measuring cups. Those are going to be even more impactful because you're going to utilize them. You're going to miss something much more if it's something that you would be coming back to routinely. So keep that in mind. The seventh thing I want to talk about is something that I would say does technically count as clothing, but it bears repeating and its own section. And that is bringing an Allwetterjacke. Now I know I went auf Deutsch for a second, but that means an all-weather jacket. And basically that means a raincoat, but one that can break the wind also. You don't want something that's just waterproof. You want something that will help you not deal with a ton of wind. You can put it over a warmer jacket to deal with snow. It's really important, and it's something I've pulled nearly every day. And every single day that I forget it, I curse myself for that because it's been raining nearly every single day since I get here. Germany is very rainy, so invest in a raincoat. You can buy one once you get here. That's totally fine. I had one that my grandma had given me in 2015 when I first went to Europe, and that was perfect, and I still wear it. It still fits me, and someone else in my program actually has the exact same jacket in the same size, so we can swap if we needed to. The next thing I would like to talk about is a couple tools. Now, you don't need a full toolbox or anything like that. We're not calling you to be a handyman, but I highly recommend something like a Swiss Army knife that, you can use as a quick knife, a quick multi-tool, whatever you need that for. And I also brought my left-handed scissors because if you are left-handed and you have tried left-handed scissors and you've learned what God's true glory is from that, then you don't ever want them to be gone. I want them at all times. It helped me cut a photo out that I needed to get my residence permit. I can just cut something so easily. And yes, I could ask my host family, hey, can you cut this? Or can I borrow some scissors? But it's so nice to have a little bit of independence just with two tools, Swiss Army knife and left-handed scissors. For me, the left-handed scissors is more important. Might not be for you. But I definitely recommend some sort of multi-tool that you can utilize for a lot, because you don't want to buy a screwdriver, a hammer. I don't know what you're going to use that for, but it's just nice to have around, and especially something that's pocket sized. You can bring it around if you need it. Also for self-defense. Germany is very safe. This city in particular has been very safe, and I've been vibing the whole time, and every single one of my friends in the program, regardless of race or gender, has been doing pretty good in terms of that. No one's felt unsafe once. So that's great. It does help to have something like a knife, just in case. Next thing I want to talk about is photos from home. Now, you could just bring a bunch of photos on your camera roll on your phone. That will pack very easily, but you could also print them out. There are these printers that will print out pictures that you take from your camera roll. My roommate had one, and they let me use, honestly, like 3 things of film for them. I have like 30 or 40 of them. Is that right? No, probably just like 20 to 30. But still, I really appreciate that. I haven't gone looking through them, but I might do that after filming this video. It's been a little bit of a challenge and a culture shock. I won't lie. And I think I want to make a video about culture shocks in the future, but we will see when we get there. But it's nice to think about all the people who have been kind to you. I mainly used photos that have not just me, but other people in it, or maybe just them. If I thought the photo was really brilliant, I wanted to have it with me, or just experiences that I experienced in the past year or so, because this past year has really grounded me. And going to this place where I'm really not grounded, it's unnerving and a shock to some degree. And so it's important to bring me back to that mindset that's been very positive for me. And while I know that my mindset's going to be constantly changing, and I probably will leave this program eventually with a mindset that's different than I entered, like irreversibly, for the better or for worse, just it will be. And so it's important to look back on where you came from. While you are open to change, you don't want to lose sight of who you are and who you've been. And even though I probably will change a lot through this program, I don't think I'm going to lose sight of who I was. I don't think I'm going to distance myself or cut my past self off. And so that does give me a sense to think on that. It also reminds me who I need to give a text message to, or a WhatsApp phone call, or something like that, because when you're in another place, you're going to forget about some of the people back home just because you don't see them every day or see them regularly, or you don't always look at their posts because you're busy doing what you're doing. I highly recommend that you make sure you stay in contact with people. Not so much that you feel like you're just back home, but enough that makes you feel like you're not alone. And the last item I recommend bringing that I brought was a bag that you can actually use. Now, as I said, you have a suitcase, you had a carry-on, and a personal item, and I filled that personal item to the brim. I fully did that. Highly recommend you fill everything very full if you can. There's normally no weight limits. If they are trying to get your second bag to go on there and it does still fit the size requirements as a carry-on, just say no. You don't really need that. Just say you don't need to check that bag. If you know that bag is overweight or heavier than your checked bag somehow, don't do it. Because then they'll be like, oh, you have to take it and pay money. No, you don't. Something I was grateful that I packed is bringing something that I could use on a daily basis. So I brought a bag that I picked up in Mexico when I went across the border in Texas. It was lovely. I had a nice little afternoon there during spring break. And I picked up a bag, and it's kind of like a purse. It's not really a purse because it's bigger, and it's just really like one open thing. It's knitted and stuff. It's great. I highly recommend. And then also, when I was in DC for orientation, I won a bingo game, and that gave me a bag that folds up into its own pocket, which is really nice. It's a nice backpack. I use that for school every day because I have bigger books that we work out of for class, and so I've utilized that. And so while I didn't really initially pack that, that has been something that's helpful. I would definitely recommend bringing a bag or purchasing a cheap bag that will serve you well, so you don't have to use your giant personal item, your carry-on, or your suitcase, God forbid, just for like a day trip, going to school, going to class, going to your job, going on a weekend trip to a local country. I plan on going to Amsterdam. I know that's a city, not a country, but I plan to going that in a couple weeks, so I'm very excited about that. And I know that I probably actually will just bring my personal item because that backpack is bigger, and since I'll have clothes with me, but I'll probably also bring a little day bag purse type thing because that's really helpful. And you don't want to lug that around museums. You don't want to lug that around while you're hiking or doing whatever. So definitely, I highly recommend bringing something that's much more manageable for you in a very day-to-day situation. Because again, this is your life for basically a year or for whenever the time period is. You definitely want to invest in something that is beneficial for you and does not make you want to scream every single day. But I believe das ist alles. That's everything. Yeah, I think that is pretty much everything as I look around the room, and pretty much everything's in sight. Yeah, that's pretty much all I brought. I highly recommend that you look at also other options. Like, one other thing I didn't remember to tell you that I did bring was a universal charger. Make sure your charger works in the different places you're going to be going, because that's important. I believe all of Europe is the 2 circle prong, not the line prong like in the United States. And so I utilize that adapter for my laptop because it's a 3 prong, and that's really annoying to find those. But it's pretty easy to find if you were using an Apple device, any phone thing. I ended up buying a charger here. I had brought chargers to then convert using my adapter, but over time it kind of weakens the charger, I believe, or it doesn't work as well. That's what I've heard. Don't quote me on that. But I believe it doesn't do that well, and it's also just easy. They have smartphone products here. I highly recommend you just purchase 1 or 2 or whatever you need of those there, so it just goes directly. If you're going to be here for a long time, it's 20 euros. It's worth spending. But yeah, I do believe that's everything. If you have traveled abroad or lived abroad, I highly recommend you mention down in the comments below what you recommend bringing or things you recommend not bringing, because you don't need much more than really what I said. And some of those things you probably don't need. You might not need left-handed scissors. You might not need photos from home. You might not need some of these things because they just might not be relevant to your situation. And that's cool. We're all in different situations. So I highly recommend that if you have feedback, suggestions, please put those in the comments below. Other ideas for my exchange year in Germany, I also would love feedback down in the comments below. So I know what you guys are interested in as I continue to not discuss music too much because of the copyright claims, but also as I just find more things to be excited and talk about with you. If you like this video, please like it, please comment down below what I can do next on my channel. Please subscribe to my channel if you're not already and you'd like to be. And thanks for watching. This is TurtleStormer. Catch you later.